When I wake up in the morning and the alarm gives out a warning, I don't think I'll ever make it on time. By the time I grab my
You know, but believe it or not, Brian Wilson, there is such a thing as 90s nostalgia.
Hard to believe.
Isn't that weird? I remember when I was a kid and there was all this 50s nostalgia going on.
And 60s,
that seemed like so long ago. Well, kids today, there's a rebirth of all things 90s.
It's hard to believe.
And one of those things is that show, Saved by the Bell. Saved by the Bell, of course, every kid, I think, in their 30s right now, remembers Saturday morning waking up with Saved by the Bell. And one of the central characters was Mr. Belding, the beloved vice principal, constantly harassed by Zach and the other kids in Bayview. And Mr. Belding now makes it's part of his career. I can't keep calling him Mr. Belding. I'm sorry. His name is Dennis Haskins, the actor who played Mr. Belding. But he calls himself Mr. Belding. He's Mr. Belding on Twitter. He goes around and he does this whole circuit of going to like happy hours and bars and dance clubs, and he DJs 80s and 90s music.
Oh my God.
He's a really and anyway, he was here in Washington yesterday, and our intrepid executive producer Heather Smith and I tracked down Mr. Belding.
Oh, you did,
because we are pop culture.
So this is what you venture out with your microphone.
That is correct. We brought the WMAL microphone because we wanted to know what Mr. Belding thinks of the government shutdown. He is America's principal. He likes to, send some discipline. So here was our encounter last night with Mr. Belding, Dennis Haskins, actor from Saved by the Bell.
Mr. Belding, thanks for being in Washington. You were a principal. You had to deal with a lot of issues. We've got a government shutdown. How would Mr. Belding solve the government shutdown?
I would hire a good staff of writers, and they would solve it for me, and then I would go on the air, or I would have all of them in detention. I would say, my office now, and then I'd make them watch episode after episode of The Three Stooges, because that's how they're acting. And maybe they would learn from that.
Well, your character was an archetype of the man in charge. So is Mr. Belding more like John Boehner or Barack Obama?
Oh, no. I don't want to compare it to those guys because that's real life. And Mr. Belding really represented the basic right and wrong in the school. And he tried to do what was right for everybody and still be the principal. And he also liked to have fun with all the kids. That's too serious to compare, I mean, I can have fun and kid around with all that, but oh my goodness. I would like to think that these guys can get together and be real men and as they would if it was their family at home and they had a dispute in their family, and they would figure it out that way because the country is the family. And our family needs them right now, not to be selfish, but to take care of them. Don't you agree?
Yes, and that's how you sort of resolve things every week on the show, really. Who is your favorite student?
Hey, listen, just like a parent, no principal is going to claim one student over the other.
All right. And are you still in touch with your class castmates?
I talk to Mario a lot. Mario just had he and his wife, Courtney, just had their second baby.
Right.
And Mario he's the hardest working man in show business. I saw Tiffany in January. The Today Show brought me in to do the Today Show. I surprised her. That was a lot of fun. I hadn't seen her in a long time. Wonderful seeing her. She's got a baby girl.
Look at this turnout. Are you surprised that Saved by the Bell still has this amazing following? And its age, look at the age ranges here. They're in their early 20s up to people in their 50s.
The amazing part is I'm not even supposed to be here till 11 o'clock, and they're already here. Friday night, I was at Harrah's in Atlantic City, and on Saturday night, Paris Hilton was there. So the draw still stays strong. It's pretty amazing. It's wonderful.
Well, we're happy to have you in Washington. We hope you have a good visit.
I actually love Washington, D.C., and you see all the smiles on all their faces. That kind of love, how do you say no to that?
Thank you, sir.
It really was jam-packed. You heard the sound in there. It was jam-packed. Who knew from Mr. Belding?
Yeah.
Did you even know this?
Can I just say I think this is generational, and I get you're very excited about this.
It really was.
I know.
I felt silly.
And when you told me, I go, huh? What?
Well, Mario Lopez, the guy who hosts the Inside Edition, I think it's called, or one of those shows. He was one of the characters.
Well, for my generation, it was the Monkees.
Oh, okay,
sure. The Monkees is what I watched every Saturday morning, and then there's this group called the Banana Splits.
Oh, I remember the
Banana Splits?
I remember it in reruns.
Well, listen, I'm telling you, those were the big cartoons when I was a kid.
Well, listen, Dennis Haskins, a really charming guy. For those of you who love your 90s nostalgia, it was great to meet him. And thank you to the Cabin Lounge down at the DuPont Circle for hosting that event. By the way, Saved by the Bell it's got a cult following, and they actually have an off-Broadway musical.
Really?
Based on Saved by the
Who
Bell.
knew?
Yeah, and it's coming to New York. Or no, excuse me, it's been running for like 3 years, I guess. Or no. Sorry, the TV show ran for 4 years, but they're now bringing the musical in. It's got something like 3,000 jokes and all of these cultural... Heather, you were beside yourself. You were so excited about having Mr. Belding in your presence.
Well, I was amazed how many women were around him. You'd swear he was actually in a boy band in the 90s or something.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I should mention that or not, but he was
Swarmed,
absolutely swarmed
Yes.
by women in their early 30s, all getting a little...
All professional women, totally excited. Mr. Belding's in the house.
snuggling up to Mr. Belding for their Facebook page.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, Mr. Belding was having a good time last night.
Well, let's put it-
As well he should. It's 7:23.
Sounds like you were, too.